Hitting the campaign trail, President Trump will rally this evening in Missouri as President Obama campaigns in Pennsylvania. Last night, the commander-in-chief slammed his predecessor. Listen to this.
Remember when President Obama said you can't have manufacturing jobs anymore? By the way, he's campaigning again. That's good news. When I was running, I swear, I think he campaigned harder than Hillary Clinton. And we won big.
President Obama will be in North Philadelphia this afternoon. Will he take credit for the recent market boom? He kind of did when he spoke for the first time since President Trump got elected. Here to discuss, Antoine Seawright, former Hillary Clinton campaign advisor, Blueprint Strategy founder and CEO. Antoine, you just heard President Trump. What do you expect to hear from President Obama as he keeps campaigning for the Democrats?
I think we expect to hear from President Obama what we've been hearing from Democrats across the country, and that is that America's in a battle for her soul and we cannot afford to lose. At the end of the day, I think most people will agree that things are not where they need to be in this country. The idea of the American experience for some doesn't look like what it looks like for others, and that's why you see Barack Obama on the campaign trail. I'm sure that's why you'll see Michelle Obama on the campaign trail. That's why we have to have all hands on deck as Democrats, because this is an election that will literally determine the next decade of politics in our country.
Emily, listening to President Obama in the speech that he gave, the most recent speech that he gave, he literally was taking credit for the recent expansion. And I have said, listen, the market rally started in 2009. This economy came out of a recession in 2009. He was the president of the United States then, but we have reached a higher growth plateau. And that is kind of exceptional and rare. With the President Trump's policies, with the deregulation, with the tax reform, that is very rare at being 9 years into an economic expansion.
Right, and I think you just said something that's key, which is this idea of deregulation, which is not something you see under President Obama. It's not something you would have seen under Hillary Clinton. And I think it's just very interesting that you have President Trump going to a state like Missouri, which he won by almost 20 points, and President Obama campaigning in some of these bluer areas. It really speaks to the polarization in the country right now, that Trump is like, it's a smart move to have him campaigning for Josh Hawley, whereas Obama, you know, out in California, some of those close races, Orange County, it makes sense for him to be there.
And I think if you look at it...
Go ahead, Antoine.
Yeah.
Look, I think the previous guest is a bit off on her facts. Donald Trump won Pennsylvania. The fact that Barack Obama is going to campaign in Pennsylvania says everything about where we are in terms of our politics in the country. At the end of the day,
is he going to go to Missouri? Is President Obama going to help Claire McCaskill?
I don't know. We don't know. What I do know is Donald Trump poll numbers are on political life support, and you have some Republicans, like in Florida, and a number of places where Republicans need to win, they will be running full steam backwards away from President Trump. And I think that was true in 2010 and 2014 for Democrats. And so at the end of the day, I think this election, more so than any election we've had in a long time, will be determined by the mood of the country and on issues, not on the emotions of voters.
Well, I would say the biggest issue, particularly when it comes to female voters, is do I feel financially secure? Do I feel comfortable about my job and my family's finances? And Jack Brewer, I think it's very hard for most people in this country to say, you know, I'm worse off now financially than I was a few years ago.
I mean, we can't deny the facts. I mean, Antoine, I respect you. I love your brother, but I totally disagree. I mean, if you look at policy, I'm talking about policy. To paint this broad picture, to pretend that the policies of Donald Trump economically have not been good for people, it just isn't true. And I don't think that you can continue to push that narrative, because if you look at the facts, there are less poor people, and that's what I care about. There are less poor people on food stamps today than there has been in a long time. And there are more people that look like me and you working than in a long time. Martin Luther King marched for jobs. That's what jobs and freedom. And we got more jobs in this country. So I think, you know, the rhetoric is there. If you want to play on the emotion, if you want to bring in the racism, you want to bring in the sexism and all these other emotional things, yeah, we can talk about that. But if you're talking about pure policy, how can you ignore that when the deregulation has clearly made an impact on this economy? The tax reform has clearly made an impact on this economy. I mean, if we would have talked about having 4% growth 3 years ago, we would have been laughed at. I know I wasn't expecting it, and now we're seeing it. I mean, so let's just keep it real and at least be honest about the situation that we are in as a country.
Listen, you won't find me having emotional arguments. I try to come with non-debatable facts. The fact of the matter is, while the economy is doing well, it is because this economy started doing well under the previous president. And while the Republicans want to make the economic argument, every poll I've seen, every poll I've read, says that health care will be the #1 issue in this election. That's why you see Democrats going on the offense, even in red states, about pre-existing conditions, and why Republicans have literally shut down health care and the access to affordable quality health care in many places. So I'm happy to have the economic argument. I'm happy to have a policy argument in these midterms because the Republicans have failed the American people from a policy standpoint.
Antoine, the people have not been shut out of health care. Anybody in this country can go see a doctor, even to the emergency room. This is an issue about health insurance and how we handle health insurance. And in fact, the Republicans have rescinded the individual mandate, so people are not forced to buy health insurance if they don't want to.
I did not say it was about. I did not say it was about what you just said. What I said was access to affordable quality health care. If you look at rural areas in this country where states refuse to expand Medicaid because of the politics, you look at South Carolina, where I'm from, we've closed 5 rural hospitals in the state. That means people could literally die because they have to ride an hour to get to a health facility when they have an issue late in the midnight hour. And so this will be about access to affordable quality health care. Yes, health insurance is part of that, but access to affordable quality health care. And women's health care will be a very important issue. And by the way, they will be a large voting bloc in this next election.
Yes, they are. And there is enthusiasm among the Democrats. But you hit on those are local issues. And you're an advocate for door to door. Door to door. And you called it, the man running for Florida governor is Andrew Gillum. I wanted to give you credit for that when nobody saw it but you. Antoine Seawright. Thank you, sir.